It's amazing to me that Steve, his skill set and mine, other than, okay, madman, leader, drawing people in, but his taste in design and user interface, and even his intuition about people, he was just genius in a way you can't explain. He didn't look at code and write code, whereas, my thing is, hey, I'm an engineer, here's the code, let's make it faster and smaller. So actually that allowed us to get along because, what he was super good at, I was not good at. I envied those just incredible talents that he had. And in some ways, he's more singular. If you say to me, are there other people like you who are great at writing code and conceptualizing? Yeah, I can name a number of people, including many who worked with me. But I don't know somebody who I say, oh yeah, he's just like Steve Jobs. Both of us had kids by then. He was actually, of course, he not only did Apple, he did the Pixar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because that was a realm I'm not in, I, could sincerely tell him what a brilliant job he did. Now, partly picking people, but that's, kind of amazing, now part of Disney. And, and both a sense of thankfulness, although, he was very sick and just hoping some new drug would come along, and tragically it didn't. Well, the fact that, why were we both so competitive and pushing ahead? I think both of us, in his case, he's an orphan, so he has a more complicated childhood that maybe can explain his zeal. I don't have anything like that, even though Kent died, that's not why, well before that I was somehow always, pushing as hard as I could be. And, I think both of us, being thankful for what we'd been able to work on. I mean, we got more of a front row seat and helped build this thing. Steve never got around to doing philanthropy. Now his widow, Lorene, is doing great philanthropy. So I'm sure he'd be proud of that. But he didn't get to that stage, and I was just getting into that stage. So I shared with them a little bit about, wow, a lot of children die, and we don't do much to stop that. And that kind of intrigued him, but then he never got to pursue it.